In the heart of Lagos, in the bustling neighborhood of Lekki, lived a man named Daniel Okafor, a charming, well-dressed, and soft-spoken man who every woman in the area seemed to admire. He was the kind of man who could melt hearts with a single smile. He spoke gently, walked confidently, and always appeared in neatly pressed shirts that smelled of imported cologne. To everyone, Daniel was the definition of a perfect gentleman. But behind that handsome face and calm voice was a man carrying a secret so dark and twisted that even the devil would be surprised at his audacity. Daniel worked in a private construction company as a project supervisor. He was respected, well-paid, and seemingly upright. That was how he met Amara, a young, beautiful, and God-fearing lady who worked as a customer service representative at a bank in Victoria Island. Amara was known for her simplicity and kindness. She was the kind of woman every man wanted, but only a few could get. Her heart was pure, and when Daniel walked into her life, pretending to be everything she ever prayed for, she thought she had finally met the one. Their love grew quickly. He showered her with attention, gifts, and promises of forever. Her friends admired their relationship, especially her four closest friends, Tonia, Kioma, Blessing, and Sandra. These were the women Amara trusted with her secrets, her laughter, and her tears. They celebrated with her when Daniel proposed in front of everyone at a fancy restaurant. It was the proposal of the year. The ring sparkled. The cameras flashed. Everyone clapped. But what Amara didn't know was that 3 of those clapping hands belonged to women carrying Daniel's unborn children. Daniel was a man who knew how to play his game. While pretending to be faithful to Amara, he had seduced 4 of her closest friends, including her best friend, Kioma. It started innocently. Late-night chats, little favors, comforting words, and accidental touches. Each one of them believed Daniel's lies that he was in a toxic relationship with Amara, and only stayed because he didn't want to hurt her. He told each woman that she was the one he truly loved. Soon, one after the other, they found themselves pregnant. He promised each of them he would handle it, that it was just bad timing, and that they should keep it a secret for now. None of them knew the other was in the same situation. Daniel, the smooth talker, had created a web of deception so thick that even he sometimes struggled to keep up with his own lies. Finally, the wedding day arrived. It was a glorious event. The hall was beautifully decorated with white roses and golden drapes. Family and friends gathered, the air filled with music and laughter. Amara's joy was beyond words. She had waited all her life for this day. But fate had other plans. Among the bridesmaids were her 4 close friends, Tonia, Kioma, Blessing, and Sandra. They were all radiant, but each carried a private burden, a secret that made their hearts tremble with fear as they walked down the aisle. Their gowns flowed gracefully, but their stomachs had begun to show small signs of pregnancy. As the ceremony went on, Amara's mother whispered, "My daughter, you are blessed. You've found a good man." Amara smiled, unaware that her good man had betrayed her in the worst possible way. The reception ended late. Everyone had gone home. Amara and Daniel retired to the luxurious suite Daniel had booked in a 5-star hotel. Candles flickered. Soft music played. She changed into her bridal nightgown, her heart fluttering. She turned to her new husband and said softly, "Daniel, I can't believe I'm finally a wife." He smiled, took her hands, and whispered, "You have no idea how much I love you." But before she could respond, her phone buzzed. A message notification appeared from an unknown number. She hesitated, then opened it. The message read, "Congratulations, Mrs. Okafor. You deserve to know that your husband got 4 of your friends pregnant, including your best friend Kioma. Ask them." Amara froze. Her heart began to pound so loud she could hear it in her ears. She read it again and again and again. Tears filled her eyes. Her hands shook. She turned toward Daniel, who suddenly looked uneasy. "Daniel, what is this?" she asked, showing him the message. He stammered, I don't know what you're talking about." But his trembling hands betrayed him. Amara felt her knees go weak. She rushed to the bathroom, scrolling through her phone in panic. And there, hidden in a message thread she had never noticed before, was the truth. Screenshots of chats, pictures, voice notes. Evidence that Daniel had been sleeping with all 4 of her closest friends, each of whom was now pregnant. Amara screamed so loudly that the hotel staff came knocking. Daniel begged her to calm down, but she fell to the floor wailing, "You destroyed my life. You used me. You deceived me." Daniel knelt before her, crying fake tears. "Amara, please. It wasn't supposed to happen this way." "I didn't mean to hurt you," but she saw through his lies now. She tore off her wedding veil, threw her ring across the room and shouted, "You are not a man. You are a monster." The next morning, news spread like wildfire. The story hit social media after someone from the hotel leaked what had happened. The 4 pregnant friends were exposed one by one. Kioma, her best friend, disappeared for weeks out of shame. Amara's wedding turned into a scandal that shook the entire city. It had been 6 months since Amara's disastrous wedding night. 6 long months of silence, shame, and sleepless nights. The once vibrant and confident banker had now turned into a quiet woman who barely smiled. Her wedding gown still hung in her wardrobe, untouched, stained with tears. Her friends, or rather, former friends, had all vanished from her life. The neighborhood that once envied her love story now whispered behind her back. But Amara had decided that she would not let shame destroy her. She moved out of Lagos to stay temporarily with her aunt in Enugu, to find peace and rebuild her strength. Meanwhile, Daniel's life had collapsed completely. After the scandal went viral, his company terminated him, and his once luxurious apartment in Lekki became empty. Creditors began to chase him. His car was repossessed, his bank accounts frozen from lawsuits by 2 of the women he impregnated. Tonya, Sandra, Blessing, and Kioma, the 4 women, had all given birth or were heavily pregnant. None of them wanted anything to do with him. Each had realized they were not the only one deceived. Daniel's name became a curse among Lagos women. People pointed and whispered whenever he walked into a place. He tried to reach out to Amara several times, calling, texting, begging, but she blocked him everywhere. For the first time, Daniel began to understand what it felt like to be alone, truly alone. In Enugu, Amara began to heal. Her aunt, a retired nurse, encouraged her to start something new. So Amara used her savings to open a small foundation, the Broken But Brave Initiative. It focused on helping women who had been emotionally abused, abandoned, or betrayed. Slowly, her story inspired others. She began to speak at women's events, telling her truth not as a victim, but as a survivor. People started calling her the Phoenix Bride, the woman who rose from the ashes of humiliation. But while Amara was rising, Daniel was falling deeper. He began drinking heavily. He lost his apartment and moved into a small, dirty room in Ajagunle. His clothes were old, his once polished shoes now covered in dust. He would sit by the window every night, staring into space, haunted by the faces of the women he betrayed. Sometimes, in his drunken state, he would whisper, "Amara, please forgive me." But forgiveness was far away, and his past was about to punish him in ways he never imagined. One night, Daniel fell sick. It started as a simple fever but grew worse every passing day. Doctors could not explain what was wrong. His body grew weaker, his eyes sank, and strange dreams began to haunt his nights. In his dreams, he saw 4 women, each of the ones he betrayed, standing in a circle, holding babies. Their faces were pale, their eyes filled with tears, and behind them, a tall, shadowy figure whispered, "The tears of the innocent will not go unanswered." Daniel would wake up screaming in the dark, soaked in sweat, begging for mercy. One Sunday morning, barely able to walk, Daniel decided to go to a church in Surulere. He staggered inside during service, trembling, pale, and desperate. When the pastor saw him, he paused mid-sermon. "Young man, you are carrying the weight of blood and tears," the pastor said. Daniel burst into tears before the entire congregation. After the service, the pastor called him aside and said, "You cannot find peace until you confess to those you wronged. Go and seek forgiveness, and the curse will break." Those words struck him like thunder. So Daniel decided to travel to Enugu to beg Amara face to face. When he arrived at Amara's foundation office, the workers didn't recognize him. His once handsome face was gaunt, his suit torn, his eyes red with sorrow. He asked quietly, "Please, is Amara here?" Amara came out of her office, radiant, confident, and peaceful. She almost didn't recognize him. The man standing before her was a shadow of the Daniel she once loved. "Daniel," she whispered in disbelief. He fell on his knees immediately. "Amara, please forgive me. I destroyed everything. I don't even know who I am anymore. I've lost everything. My job, my friends, my health, my peace. Please, I beg you. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I'm dying inside." For a long time, Amara said nothing. She just looked at him. This broken man who once broke her heart. Then she said quietly, "Daniel, I forgave you a long time ago, not because you deserve it, but because I needed to be free." Daniel broke down even more, clutching her feet. She continued, "But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. You planted evil, and now you are reaping it." She helped him up, gave him water, and prayed for him before sending him away. That day, Daniel left the foundation in tears, but with a strange peace in his heart. For the first time, he felt the weight lifting. 2 weeks later, news reached Amara. Daniel had passed away in his sleep. Doctors said it was heart failure, but some said his spirit had simply given up after finally finding peace through forgiveness. At his burial, none of the women he deceived attended except Amara. She stood quietly by his grave, placed a white flower on the coffin, and whispered, "You hurt me deeply, but I hope your soul finally rests." As she turned to leave, a gentle breeze blew, lifting her veil slightly, and she felt a lightness in her chest, as though the last chain of her past had been broken. The end.